And I'm joined now by national political correspondent Alex Miller in New York, who just left the courtroom after President-elect Donald Trump was sentenced, or should I say lack thereof. Judge Marchand ultimately deciding not to give him any punishment. Alex, you were inside the courtroom. Walk us through what it was like in there and what the ultimate result was.
Well, it was a very quick in and out. We were there for about 30, 40 minutes, and it was really like any other trial, any other sentencing that you would typically see, except for the fact that the President-elect of the United States was not actually in the courtroom. He appeared via video with his attorney, Todd Blanche. They did have one representative inside the courtroom, but they basically went through all of the normal procedures that we would see. The prosecutors got up, Joshua Steinglass, and talked about the impact that this case has had on the court system. He said that Trump tried to undermine this case at every turn. He said that he has engaged in a coordinated campaign to undermine the legitimacy of this case. He says it has done real damage, he believes, to the public's belief in the court system as a whole. But even though he went on a pretty long speech discussing this, he at the end said that they do have to respect the office of the presidency, and that's why they asked for this unconditional discharge. What that means is that he technically has a sentence. We are closing the chapter and naming him officially a convicted felon, but there is no jail time. There is no fine. There are no probation requirements for the now president-elect. And so that is really where it gets left off. Now, Trump did have an opportunity to speak, to say what he wanted to say, and he spoke for about 6 minutes talking about this trial, saying that he was being treated unfairly, talking about his win, saying that he won in a, quote, landslide and that he was overwhelmingly elected. But he did talk about this case, saying that he thinks it's an embarrassment to New York and to the New York court system, something that was echoed by his attorney, Todd Blanche, as well. And so they have said that they are going to appeal this conviction, but essentially the chapter is closed right now in terms of the court proceedings as a whole. Marchand, when he was handing down this sentence, Andrew, he made it a point to say that while there might have been a lot of hoopla outside of the courtroom, and obviously there certainly was, that inside the courtroom, that this was a normal case, that he was not afforded any anything extra just because he was the president of the United States, that he was a candidate at the time, and that everybody did their job. He said the jury was selected fairly, that they went through the exact same steps that they would for any other trial. And at the very end, he made a point to talk about the case of presidential immunity, the fact that the Trump team believes that this case falls under that case, essentially meaning that he should not be considered a convicted felon because of presidential immunity. Now, Marchand seemingly disagrees with that, says that he is being sentenced as Donald Trump, the ordinary citizen, that he does not get the privileges that are extended to you when you are in the office of the presidency. And so that is why we saw what we saw today. Again, the Trump team says that they are going to appeal this. So while we might have this chapter closed, there's still going to be other things happening down the line, but he is free now to take the office of the presidency in this manner. Though he is a convicted felon, he's obviously going to be able to do that in 10 days.
Yeah, and Alex, I imagine there are a lot of viewers who saw this news today and are thinking, well, that was a waste of time. You were inside this courtroom day in and day out as this trial played out. What do you think, reflecting on this process? Is there any sort of lasting legacy of this trial, or was it all for naught?
You know, I think it depends on who you ask. People wanted to see a punishment. People that felt that he was guilty wanted to see some sort of repercussions, and that they believe that because he didn't face any real sentence, that he is essentially above the law. Now, there was a lot of hoopla in this trial. I mean, we were in and day out, having to be there early because of Secret Service requirements. We had long days, obviously, going through this trial. And so the people that wanted to see a sentence are obviously disappointed. Now, the people who support the former president, now president-elect, believe that this trial never should have happened in the first place. In fact, Trump, during his speech, said that Bragg did not want to bring this trial in the first place. Now, Bragg was sitting just across from me. He did not make any sort of face when that happened. He just stared straight ahead. But he was heavily criticized by Trump as he gave that speech that essentially he believes that this case never should have been brought. So Trump said that he hopes that no president or president-elect or former president is ever tried in a court of law again. Obviously, that very much remains to be seen, but it's something that he says he wants to make sure happens. So just kind of an interesting way to wrap all of this up, considering the nearly 2 months that we spent inside that courtroom.
All right, our Scripps News national correspondent Alex Miller for us in New York. Alex, thank you.